Hi guys, bit of a disclaimer with this video. We actually had to cut some of the audio before this video picks up. So if you're wondering why they've just gone in straight into the conversation and Dave hasn't asked his question about how the weather is. But apart from that, the video is all good and sound, so if you want to carry on watching, carry on.
Nice. So why did you kind of step out of the professional game then? Was it just that real ambition to help people get to that 10% more, or had you kind of done your bit of time and now you really wanted to move on?
Well, I was there so it was part of like my university experience. I was there as an intern, so It was never like a full-time thing. But yeah, I think it was a case of I'd got into it initially. I think like a lot of people that have, I'd have loved to have been a footballer. So it was like, well, I'm not good enough to be a footballer. How do I stay involved with football? And I thought that was going to be a great way to do it, and it is. But I just felt that having done it for a year or so, I was like, right, I've tried that now. Actually, I'm passionate about getting like really big changes with people. While I was doing this stuff at university and things like that, I was also carrying on working with like friends and family in the gym. Saw the results you could get with those people and was like, yeah, that's the way to go, like change people's lives.
Nice. Okay. So what took you to Huddersfield then? Was it a job or did you decide to set up by yourself?
Yeah, so I was self-employed, but I worked as part of I joined a team called Profit Personal Training that had been around not that long, but they had a small team of PTs across different sites. So we all worked for ourselves, but we all sort of worked together in terms of our development and our growth and stuff. So there was an opportunity in Huddersfield, so I took that and I stayed there until it was sold in 2019. By the time I left, the team was about 160 PTs across 20 sites. Wow, so there was a decent number of us. And over that time, I'd become a mentor. I'd become part of the education team. I was sort of leading a region, a lot of managerial roles and things like that. But again, still all within my own business, but as part of this bigger structure that was being used to help other PTs.
Nice. Okay, so you kind of finished up there. So is that what got you to the point where you are now, or is there still more to go?
So 2019, the business got sold, and then COVID hit. So
just in time.
I took everything I was doing in Huddersfield and brought it back to Manchester. I took it all online.
Nice.
So I still work with like groups of people and stuff like that, like I was doing in the gym. I was running semi-private PT and things like that from a good facility, but still work with groups now, do most of it online, still do all my mentorship and stuff with people that I was doing, trainers from back then and then new ones that have come on board. And I am also involved in a small training studio locally called Strength in Numbers. So shout out to Mike and Dave that run that. I help them out with that. So yeah, that's where I'm at the minute. I do a lot of my stuff from this little room that you see me in right now.
Nice. Okay. So you move from in person to heavily online. So if we just stick at that area for a little bit now, for somebody who's kind of thinking, oh, you know what, I would like to maybe move online myself now. Online's quite interesting. What were kind of the first steps that you took to get yourself online?
So I've done online in two ways. While I was still in person, I'd started an online coaching business, and I'd targeted that at brides because I'd worked with a lot of brides in person. That's still live online. You can find it. It's called Big Day Body Plan, and that was your typical sort of online coaching. What I do now is actually I do video training sessions with my groups of clients remotely. So it's like remote personal training. For that to work, you've got to be very clear on the limitations of it. You've got to be very clear on the fact that the clients that I work with, the work that they do with me isn't their number one activity in the week. It's a case of a lot of them play different sports and things like that. They might be golfers, tennis players, cricketers, runners, cyclists, swimmers. So that's their main activity for the week. And then the work they do with me is like the assistance work that builds on that and sort of irons out any creases with injuries and rehab and stuff. So in terms of like your online coaching, I think it's one of those things that you've got to throw yourself into it initially, try and take on a few people if you can, that are either willing to, you're willing to work with for free, or maybe a bit of a discount just to get your feet under the table. Because initially I found is that a lot of it is just building some of these systems that you need in the back end for it to be scalable and for it to be manageable. Because otherwise, if you're not building those things, you're going to spend more time with an online client than you would do with an in-person one. And the chances are most PTs are probably charging less for that online product. And we can get into things like how you package it and stuff like that. Because again, people are probably undercharging for a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to make that distinction because a lot of the online stuff I do isn't what a lot of normal online coaching looks like. It's still very much based around coaching exercise, coaching movements, and coaching for taking that out and putting it into your sport as well.
So just quick, let's go back to how you do it, because like you say, it does seem different. Most people would prescribe an exercise program for their online clients that they would go off and do in their local commercial gym or something, and then they'd report back once a week for a weekly catch-up or messages or whatever. You actually go live with them on Zoom and they perform the workout and you coach them through that workout.
Yes, yeah. So my clients come together in our nice Zoom room. I will be in this room that you can see now, but on a completely different angle. I've got this set up like a video studio, and I make sure that clients have got the kit required. Quite lucky that these are people I've worked with for a long time. So tell them to go and get some kit, they go and get it. And then it's a case of making sure everyone has safe demonstration of exercise and performance. A lot of it, like I said, David, it's not like I'm getting people to deadlift 200 kilos from the living room. It's can we keep you mobile? Can we keep you flexible? Can we work on joint stability? Can we work on, range of movement, range of motion, pain-free movement? And then can we take that into, if there's any sort of sporting angle as well, like I say, if there's anything we can do to improve what you're doing to your sport, can I improve your golf swing, for example? That's one I find myself doing a lot. We will use basic kit to do that sort of stuff.
Nice. Okay, so a big question a lot of people are going to be asking then at this point is they've been following other coaches who are kind of business coaches, and they're giving them ideas for online, and they're quoting you should be charging £600, £1,000, £2,000 for a 12-week program, whatever it is. How did you come up with a pricing structure that worked for your model then?
So all I did with mine, David, again, just because of the way it fell, was I took what I was charging in person and moved it online. Nothing changed. So it's just the same. It's just the same, because the way I saw it was, it doesn't matter where we are, you're paying access to me as the resource, as the coach. Ultimately, that's what you're buying into. That might sound really big-headed and a bit arrogant, but I just think that's the long and short of it. Whether we're in a gym or not doesn't matter. You're paying for access to someone that's got experience, someone that knows you inside out, and someone that's got your best interests at heart. And I just took my in-person model and did the same sort of pricing structure and everything online.
Nice. Okay. So even if we look at in person, then if someone new is just getting started in the fitness industry and they're watching this now and just like, oh, okay, yeah, you've moved from face to face to online, there's similar pricing, but what do I even charge anyway? I don't know. Do I just charge £20 an hour? Because that sounds like an easy one. How does somebody new come up with the right pricing for them?
Yeah. So this is a big thing that I work on within the mentoring side of my business and the new PTs that I work with. So I think PTs need to start to think of things a little bit less black and white, and think about it like you're on a bit of a spectrum. Okay, so that spectrum you're going to move along over the years. So if you're a brand new PT coming into the industry, I think there's a few things we need to take into account first. I think first and foremost, we want to build you some security. We need you to have that security in your business so that you're going to last long enough to actually get really good at your job and build a solid business. Now, you're not going to get security from selling blocks of 10 sessions. That's not going to happen. And that's for a few reasons. Number one, most PTs are terrible at selling. So if you sell a block of 10, you've then got to sell that again and sell it again and sell it again to the same person. So what we often get trainers to do instead is we get them to sit down with people and say, I'm going to need to work with you for at least 3 months, ideally 6, as like a minimum commitment to get you the kind of results you're looking for. Here's what that's going to look like in terms of how many times you see me per week. Here's what that's going to cost you per month. So right from the start, we get trainers charging monthly standing order for a set amount of money at the start of the month so that the trainer knows what they're being paid and that they can start to use that to build a business and build some security. What you charge for your time is entirely up to you, but whatever you think it is, I think most PTs should probably add at least another £5 or £10 onto that. I think if you're charging anything under, if I was going to pick a number out of the air, anything under £35, you're probably undercharging yourself even as a brand new PT.
Okay, so we've got somebody doing PTing, or they're doing boot camps, or they're doing large group sessions or something, and they've been doing this for 5 or 6 months. It's going well, but they're just not making enough money, and they've kind of come to the point where they realize, you know what, I actually need to be charging more. I started off at a low price, I've picked all these clients up, but I'm still not actually making any money. How does somebody now go to clients and say, guys, your monthly is now going up by £5 or £10 a month?
Yeah, so again, this is one that I deal with a lot, and I think it probably is different based on, because you said there, like one-to-one, small group, large group. I don't want to give like a blanket answer for all of those. I think they're different products, they're different things. But let's take one-to-one as an example. If you've been working with people for 6 months or so, I would say it's probably a bit too soon to change their price. I think you should stay with them a bit longer. But what I would do from a mindset perspective as a PT is I'd go, right, anyone I take on after that point, so draw a line in the sand, anyone I take on after this point is being charged my new rate. So I'm going to up my prices £5, £10, whatever it is, sell a few people at that new price, and that changes what goes on between your ears. It changes how you think about what you charge. And then after you've done that with a few people, you can go back to your one-to-one clients, if they've still stuck around with you and are continuing to train with you, and you can start to have the conversation with them around, in a month's time, my prices are going to go up. Here are the reasons why. Here are all the investments I've made in my own education. Here's how I've developed. Here's all the extra things that we're now doing as part of the plan that you're on. If you want to continue working with me, these are the prices. But then I also think for a lot of trainers, David, this is a great opportunity to offer people the chance to move into semi-private if they don't want to pay that higher price. So we can say to them, that higher price is there. If you can't afford that or don't want to pay it, I am actually now going to offer a cheaper alternative where you train alongside someone and you pay this amount. Your hourly rate as a trainer would actually go up more in that model there than it would just by increasing your price by £5 every time.
Nice. Okay. So I'm going to go back to what you were saying about doing your own online coaching now. And you said when you swivel it around, you're then coaching these people, and you said you work with a specific type of audience where maybe they play golf or swimming, and you mentioned a few other things. So it sounds like you've created a market or a niche for you to work in. Why have you done that, and why is it important for people to kind of move themselves into a niche?
So I think I fell into that a little bit by accident, if I'm completely honest. I mean, obviously, when you go back to what I said at the start, my background was in strength and conditioning, which is obviously very sport related. So it kind of makes sense that along the way, I ended up working with some of those types of people. But these are, weekend warriors. These are just amateur people playing the sport they love. But you're right. You do need, at some point, you do need to get clear on who it is you want to work with, so that you can market your business, so that you can structure what it is you offer people, so that you're very clear on, this is what I do, this is who I do it for, this is why I do it, here's the results you can expect from that. Because if you're trying to speak to everyone, as you know, David, trying to speak to everyone, you're going to speak to no one. So we need to get a bit clearer on that and make sure that you've got that angle to go out with your marketing, with your messaging, and then with how you sort of package your service together.
Nice. Okay. So let's move on to the packaging element then, because we've talked about pricing quite a few times now. For somebody who's maybe been doing this a while, they'll have a good understanding of finances. But for those maybe who are just starting, or maybe even people that have been doing this for a while, but their finances are kind of a little bit all over the place, what are some of the kind of like the big mistakes people make when it comes to finances and understanding the numbers in their business?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is, going back to what I said earlier, is that most PTs are just they're undercharging to a point where they've got no margin in their business. And for anyone that doesn't know what that means, it's the difference between what it's costing you to run your business and what you take home as a profit, basically. So if we take what the typical PT is doing, David, from my experience, they're charging £20, £25, whatever that number is, depending on what area of the country you're in. And then they're offering some sort of discount on that if you buy so many sessions. So you think your hourly rate's £25. It's not. It's lower because you're discounting based on a block booking or whatever. And then even still, by the time someone's cancelled a few times or rearranged, that 10-week block has now become 15 weeks. So I think that there's a few things there in that. I understand that when you first start, there can be limiting beliefs around money and stuff like that. But as quickly as possible, I think you need to increase those margins. I think as quickly as possible, you need to find a way to get paid on a regular basis. Because again, if my money is coming in at different times of the month and all over the place, it becomes very difficult to get on top of it and manage it. Whereas the PTs that I work with, they all get paid on the first of the month. Every single one of them gets paid by every client on the first of the month. So they know what is coming into the business. And that does a few things. It allows them to create forecasts. It allows them to understand their income and expenditure better. And from the client perspective, they get a lot more buy-in. Like, clients don't cancel sessions. They don't rearrange in the same way, which means they then get better results. So then they get more referrals. So I think if you can do those two things early on, if you can get yourself paid on a regular basis and get paid at that slightly higher amount as quickly as possible. If you're struggling to increase your prices, I would just set yourself some little targets and say, it doesn't matter where you start. Let's take 25 quid as an example. First 5 people, I'm going to sell it at 25. By the time I sit down with the 6th person, I'm going to have increased my price for the next 5 and then the next 5, and just build your confidence that way.
Nice. Okay. So keeping with the structure element then, so we've looked at setting a monthly direct debit or getting people to pay on the first of every month. We've mentioned a few other things, but what other structures, what other foundational things do people really need to have to really start scaling their business?
So one of the things I like to teach as early as possible is this idea of an ideal diary and understanding, as the owner of the business, what do you want to be doing and when? So again, if you take my typical type of person that I generally find myself helping, it's a PT that's in a commercial gym that's fairly new. You can be in that gym from 6 a.m. till 10 at night if you want to. Doesn't mean you should be there all that time. Obviously, we want you there a good amount of time to be in there marketing your business. But we need to get very clear early on, like, when do you want to be busy with clients? When do you want to be actually coaching sessions and working with people? And if we can start to build a structure around that in terms of knowing when you want to be busy, we can make sure that you're in the gym doing the things to get busy at those times. Now you can be being busy before you get busy, and that's going to help you generate those leads and those clients that you're going to need. So I think that idea of an ideal diary is really important. And once you understand when you want to work, you can then start to put in things as well, like something I try and get PTs to do is understand that their diary shouldn't just contain PT sessions. It should also contain the slots required to deliver all the other stuff that comes as part of the job. So if you look at your diary now and it's just a list of PT sessions this week, that's really not representative of what your business is required to do in order to keep going as it is and then to grow. We need to have slots in there for lead generation. We need to have slots in there for admin time, for client care and stuff like that. We need to have time in there for outreach and going doing things like giving a talk at a local business or jumping on a podcast or whatever it is. We need to have those things structured into your actual working diary when you're a bit of like a solopreneur to start off with, because you are the business, and we've got to give you the structure so you understand what you should be doing and when, based on how you want your business to look.
Okay, so we're looking at the ideal diary, and you mentioned we don't always want to have just a list of one-to-one PT sessions. Talk about sales and lead generation and client care, but something you mentioned earlier was trying to see if we can put people into groups as well, because you said the amount you can earn per hour with a group is more. So I've been doing one-to-one now for a very long time in a commercial gym, and I'm listening to this, and we're talking about doing groups. How do I put the feelers out there to my clients to do a group sessions, and what happens if this commercial gym don't allow group sessions?
Well, there's a couple of things you've got to ask yourself there. I mean, if your commercial gym don't allow it and you want to do it, you're going to have to find a new place to work, I think. Otherwise, you're always going to have a ceiling. We could literally sit you down and work out how many hours are you willing to give away? How much can you possibly charge? And then we can work out what the absolute maximum is that you could ever earn in that facility. And if you're happy with that number, then that's fine. But if you're not, we're going to have to look at changing that out. We're going to have to remove that ceiling for you and move you somewhere else. In terms of transitioning over to semi-private, there are some PTs that prefer just to do this as like a clean break, as I call it, where they just move the whole business into that model in one go. Other trainers like to take it a bit more steady, and they do a bit at a time. So the way I would do this, and the way I'd sort of teach trainers to do this, regardless of whether they're going to do that clean break or the slower approach, is I get them to start talking to their clients about the fact that they're going to trial this new system of training. So you sort of make it non-committal to start with. You make it sound like, we're going to try this for a month, and then I'm going to collect some feedback and see what you've made of it. And what we need to do at this point, David, is we've got to get really honest with the fact that it becomes a sales process again. You've got to sell this new service to people, and you've got to start highlighting the features and the benefits of that new service. So we start to talk to clients about the fact that it'll give them the chance to work alongside like-minded people. It'll give them the chance to either save money on their training or train more frequently for what they're paying at the moment. It'll give them additional support network. It'll give them additional accountability. It'll be an environment that's a different energy to what they're getting at the moment. And we also have to give them that little bit of, you've got to make them aware that you can still support them as an individual. You've got to make them feel safe with that as well. And maybe you might need to explain how you plan on doing that. It might be that you're still going to set aside half an hour a month for each client just to sit down and have a brew with them or something. It might be that you're going to have something fancy going on in the background in terms of like a check-in process or whatever it is you want to do. But I think if you can talk to clients and make it like a non-committal thing to start off with, just going to try it. If you don't like it, no worries. I think you're going to love it. Let's give it a go. Your job then as the coach is to make sure that those sessions are absolutely phenomenal. So why would anyone ever want to go back to what they were doing before?
Cool. Okay. So in this ideal diary, we've now getting a few group sessions. We're now getting our one-to-ones, and we've kind of got a mixture of everything. But there's a key one you said was the lead generation aspect of it. Now, I've never worked in a commercial gym, so unfortunately I don't really have much lead gen experience. Studio, boot camp, all that other stuff I can help with. But when it comes to a commercial gym, I don't have much experience. So I don't talk about this very often. Yeah. As a guy, as a mentor that helps people in commercial gyms, what are some of the best lead generation tactics people working in commercial gyms should be utilizing?
So some of the simplest one is you've got to speak to people. You've got to get in front of people. If you're in a commercial gym, you've already got an amazing advantage in that you've got a decent level of footfall every single day. You've got a gym there that's maybe got 5,000 members or something. That's fantastic. You've already got an audience. So you've now got to find different ways of getting in front of that audience. You can do that physically by going up to people and speaking to them. A lot of trainers can do that. A lot of trainers struggle with that. I think if that's something you struggle with, find something that you can do of value that makes that process easier. So for me, I wasn't that great at approaching people on the gym floor. But what I did like to do was offer some upfront help and some upfront value that became the logical first step before committing to a consultation. And I still teach this to this day, but this is essentially how I got full, David. I used to walk around the gym floor and I used to say to people, in that assessment room over there, I'm going to be running a mini health clinic for the next half hour. If you'd like to drop in and get your body fat measured or something else, whatever it was I was doing, pop in and see me and I'll make sure you get some advice to go away with. I would do that every day. And every day I would speak to loads of people. It gave me a chance to show a little bit of experience in terms of expertise in that field. And obviously at the end of the health consultation, that little process where I might do a body fat test or something else, I would say to them, are you looking to get some help with this? And quite a few people would say, yeah, actually I am, now that I can see how terrible that number is or whatever. And I'd be like, okay, can I sit down with you tomorrow and we can talk about how I can help you? I'd put them in for a consultation straight away. I'd already built rapport with them. I'd already built that little bit of know, like, and trust with them. I'd given them something up front. So I felt good about asking for a consultation because I'd got to know them. It felt a bit more genuine. But then I think in terms of other stuff you can be doing, obviously you've got the opportunity to use PT boards and flyers and stuff like that. I think you've got to come up with a bit of a bit of an initial offer for people to engage with. So I see a lot of PTs out there that will have their profile on a PT board. And I know sometimes you're limited in what you can put on these things. It's a bit corporate. It's got to fit a certain format. But if you're just essentially saying weight loss expert, strength expert, nutrition expert, like your every expert, contact me for more information, it's just too vanilla. But if you can put something out there that says something like, here's a PT trial where you're going to achieve X, Y, and Z in this amount of time, and it's at maybe a small discounted price initially to get someone in the door, that's something that will stand out to someone really well and they'll engage with that quite well. So a lot of the PTs I work with use these little trials and challenges like you might use to fill a studio, similar type of approach, and they convert really, really well into full paying clients.
Nice. Okay. So this commercial PT is doing well. He's got like the ideal diary. He's doing group sessions. He's doing one-to-ones. He's got his lead gen. He's got his sales. He's got all these things mapped out. But now he really wants to kick on. He really wants to start scaling his business. Maybe he's doing 5,000 or 6,000 a month, but he really wants to move on and kick on. What would be the next steps really be in scaling his business?
Yeah, so that would depend on which direction the individual would want to go. Usually it's them wanting to venture into the online world is what you generally find at that point. So I've kind of cracked this bit over here. It all feels a bit easier now. I want to get my business online so that I can work with anyone, anywhere, get a bit of freedom, whatever it is. I mean, to do that, the first thing you need to accept is it's going to take you a little bit of time to build that. So make sure that whatever you've built in person, if you've gone into the group format, that should have given you a lot of your time back. If you're still doing one-to-one PT and you're doing 40, 50 hours a week on the gym floor, it's going to be difficult to then find the time to do this other stuff because what you build has got to be good quality. But I think if you've got that group stuff in place and you do want to venture into that online space, what I always say to PTs at this point is treat your online coaching now as what would have been your premium one-to-one service. So you now don't offer one-to-one in the gym. That's gone. It's all groups. So now you can start to think differently about your online coaching. My online coaching is one-to-one, which means it's premium, which means I can price it at a level that creates a scalability factor. Because if you're only charging £100 for like online coaching, you'll know yourself, David, there's not much margin in there for you to then market and scale that business very far or bring in staff or bring in any sort of support. But if you can put a plan together or a package, if you've got an idea of who you want to work with, you can put that together as a package that's going to be worth far more as an overall product. Let's say you put together a 4-week package that's going to cost someone £750, maybe even £1,000, like you were mentioning earlier on, David. Some of these people will tell you to do. I think there is a genuine place for that, providing you can guarantee a certain set of results and that you can then back that up with a really high quality level of service. I think a lot of PTs struggle to do that because they're just so busy doing one-to-one PT in the gym, and that takes their priority, which is understandable. You're going to venture into this world and charge good money. You've got to make sure that you're working with the right people, you package it in the right way, and that you use some of the systems you've built for your in-person business to support your online clients. They're going to need a lot of accountability. You're going to want to find a way to be able to check in with those people most days and stay on top of them and keep that going.
Nice. Okay, to finish, I've asked all the questions I think we really need to know, but is there any questions you think I should have asked? Is there anything else that you think we should know?
I mean, something that I've been talking a lot about in recent times with my guys, sort of one-to-one and stuff like that, is that there's a lot of noise in our industry when it comes to business, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to people like me claiming to be mentors and coaches and stuff. One person will tell you one thing, one person will tell you another thing, and there's just a lot of general noise. And I think one message I want to get out there to everyone, having worked with a lot of PTs, is that it all works. Like, all of it works. You can be an amazing one-to-one PT and build a business that you're really happy with. You can be a group PT and earn a bit more money and be really happy with that. You can be an online coach. You can be an offline coach. What I would advise everyone listening to this to do is accept that we're in a fortunate position. Our industry has lots of different vehicles to achieve whatever you might determine as success. Spend a bit of time looking at yourself, working on yourself, and figure out what you think might be the best way for you. Don't just copy what everyone else does. Don't just follow blindly. Start to dabble in a few things. You might have to try something to figure out it's not for you. And just like almost calm yourself down a bit and accept that there's a place for you in this industry. You've just got to work out where you want to fit in. And once you've done that, you've then just got to decide what your ambition is. Because again, not all of us are going to be business owners that turn over £250,000, £1 million a year, are we? We're not all going to do that. And that's okay. That's fine. If you want to be a great PT that's got amazing relationships with your clients and gets people great results in your little corner of your country, great. That's fantastic. If you enjoy what you do, keep doing it. If you've got ambitions to do more, then you've got to get honest with yourself and you've got to sit down, and maybe that's when you've got to get a bit of help to look at the situation and go, right, what got me here isn't going to get me to that next step. Can't just keep doing the same thing. So what are the things that would have to change to allow me to reach that level of ambition that I've got for my business? So yeah, we don't all have to go in the same direction, David. We can all find our own place. We're very lucky in this industry, I think.
Nice. Okay, so if somebody's watching this now and they feel like coming towards you is the right direction for them, where can people find out a little bit more about what it is you do and how potentially that you could help them?
The place where I'm most active is Instagram. So if you go onto Instagram and search Matt Robinson PT, all one word, that's where you'll find everything about me. Like my content that's on Instagram is the best place to start. You can use that. A lot of the stuff that we've talked about today, David, I've gone into detail on there. Loads of information on there. What you'll also find on there is a link to the ProFit podcast. So I've been running that for a number of years. We've got 140 episodes. So that's a mixture of guest interviews, but then myself and my co-host Paul have also gone into great detail in specific topics. So for example, if you're a new PT that doesn't know how to do a good consultation yet, we've gone into that in a great level of detail where we actually walk you through how to run a consultation. Here are the steps. Here's what's involved. Here's what happens before. Here's what happens afterwards. And we even give away the resources as well. If you want to get the consultation sheets from us and stuff like that, you can just message us and we'll send them to you.
Nice.
So those are the best places. Use my free content on Instagram. Use my free content over on the ProFit podcast.
So that's profitpt.com.
No, the ProFit podcast. You just go onto Apple or Spotify and just type in the ProFit podcast. It's Pro-Fit podcast.
Nice.
Which isn't the best for searching, but
one of those things. One of the biggest mistakes I ever made was when you start putting numbers in your name and stuff. That's where it gets
complicating things. Yeah.
Cool, Matt. I appreciate your time today. Thank you for coming on. Hopefully, we'll get you back on further down the line, and we can dive into a number of different areas. But for today, appreciate you coming on, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Cheers, David. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Speak to you soon.